Well, hi. If you visited this channel, Backtracks Get Sidetracked, before, you know that this channel is where I share more eclectic transport videos I filmed. I guess ones that don't quite fit the vibe of the other Backtracks channels, but for me, still interesting enough to share with you, the viewer, like this one. Because recently I travelled to Cairns in far north Queensland, Australia, and during some spare time, I visited the Kuranda Scenic Railway, a ride I hadn't taken since I was a little kid, so I barely remembered it, recalling just a few flashes here and there. So it did sort of feel like it was my first visit, and it's great. So in this video, we'll explore the train, the line, and some of its history. I'm Marty, and welcome to Backtracks Get Sidetracked. The Kuranda Scenic Railway is a heritage-listed tourist service that runs along the historic Cairns to Kuranda railway line. The line itself, well, it's 37 kilometres long and it was completed in 1891. And it climbs up from Cairns, which is basically at sea level, winding through the Macalister Range to reach 328 metres above sea level at Kuranda. And apparently it was a very challenging build, with many people dying during construction of the 15 tunnels and 37 bridges. So the Scenic Railway operates 2 return daily services through the year, with the one-way trip taking just under 2 hours. And while the tourist service is the main user of the line, it is still used for some freight and other passenger services like the Savannalander, that's quite hard to say, which departs Cairns weekly on a Wednesday, nearly 39 weeks of the year, passing through Kuranda on its way to the Atherton Tableland. So what about the station itself? Let's do the reverse journey, the return journey, and we'll start at Kuranda Railway Station. And this has to be one of the most unique railway stations in Australia. Not necessarily for its architecture, but for its lush tropical setting. The station has an island with 2 loops, and while trains can continue on to the Atherton Tableland, the main service is that twice daily tourist train between Cairns and Kuranda. What I really love about the station, it has a working signal box to control the signals and the points, and it has a pretty large gift shop and snack bar, which I wonder if that was once a very lovely Victorian tea room. So talking about the journey, the trains leave Cairns in the morning at 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. They come up to Kuranda, they park on either side of the platform, and then return at 2 and 3 p.m, going from Kuranda back to Cairns. The train's pretty long. It's 14 carriages. Maybe, I'm just guessing here, it's one of the longest daily passenger services in Australia. So once the train departs Cairns, it winds its way down to the plains at Freshwater Station and onto Cairns, first travelling through Barron Gorge National Park, offering views of Barron Falls, then Stony Creek Falls, and the lush rainforest on the way. The first stop on the return journey is Barron Falls, where it stops for 10 minutes for travellers to alight and take in the scenery. For most of the day, it is extremely quiet and empty, except for the 4 times each day the train stops. You can also get to the station to take in the views of Barron Falls from a car park nearby. Barron Falls, Aboriginal name is Din Din, is a steeply tiered cascade waterfall. Falls are created by the Barron River falling from the Atherton Tablelands onto the Cairns coastal plain. For most of the year, and certainly when I visited, the falls are little more than a trickle, and that's partially because I was there in the dry season, but also due in part to the presence of a weir behind the head of the falls that supplies the Barron Gorge Hydroelectric Power Station, which is located downstream in the gorge. So as we leave Barron Falls Station, let's talk about the train itself. The first operation of a tourist train from Cairns to Kuranda was in 1936, using just 4 longitudinal seating carriages. Now today there are 2 classes of service. The more basic one is called Heritage Class, and that's $55 one way, and you can travel in the original timber carriages with bench-style seating, and these are over 100 years old. And then if you're a bit more fancy, there's the Gold Class, which is just over $100 each way, and these are in pretty nice handcrafted Victorian-inspired carriages with club-style seating and apparently personal onboard service. I didn't travel in that one. And these carriages are pretty spacious. They only carry about 28 passengers per carriage. Well, finally, we reached the spot we've all been waiting for, and I guess the highlight of the ride. This is where the line passes over a curved lattice railway bridge that passes right in front of Stony Creek Falls. A pretty cool place to build a railway line. And this is the image or video that you'll generally get when you search for Kuranda Tourist Railway on the internet. And this Cascade Waterfall is on the Stony Creek, where the river falls from the Atherton Tablelands down to the Cairns coastal plain, and it's within the Barron Gorge National Park. Now, when I was a kid, I do remember this bit, and we were able to get out of the train in those days. Could you imagine everyone standing on that bridge? It would be an occupational health and safety nightmare these days. But still, even within the train, and it slowed down to past this point, you can still get a pretty good view. The train then winds its way down to Freshwater Station, which features a cafe inside a vintage carriage before continuing on to Cairns Central Station. Freshwater Railway Station is located just on the boundary of the suburb of Freshwater in Cairns. And originally, the Tablelands Railway Line was built to provide transport between the mines near Heberton and the Cairns port. And this part of the line opened way back in 1887. And other than the Kuranda Scenic Railway, there are no other commuter services that use this station. But in spite of that, most of the people who travel on the Scenic Railway get off at the station. About 60% of the 400,000 people a year who use the service get off at this station. And the station was pretty much redeveloped in 2018 with a nearly $5 million refurbishment. And from here, it's pretty much a flat run to Cairns Railway Station. And when we reach Cairns Railway Station, which as it would suggest, it's the railway station of Cairns, and it's situated right in the central business district of the town. The station is the terminus mainly for the North Coast Railway line from Brisbane, and it's also, as we've just been talking about, the terminus for the Tablelands Railway line to the Atherton Tableland. So it has the Kuranda Scenic Railway as one service, the Savannah Lander, but then the main one is the Spirit of Queensland, which is a train that runs all the way from Cairns down to Brisbane. It looks like at the moment it runs 4 times a week on a Monday, a Wednesday, Friday and a Sunday. You leave at 7:40 a.m. in Cairns and then you arrive in Brisbane the next day at 9 a.m. The original Cairns station was built in 1891, as mentioned before, as part of the opening of the first stage of the Tablelands Railway. And then, in 1897, the Mulgrave Shire Tramway ultimately was absorbed into the North Coast Railway, which then connected Brisbane to Cairns via many coastal towns, which until this point had just been ports for railways into the hinterland. The whole route was completed in 1924, so Cairns became a major tourist destination. The station has 2 platforms. Platform 1 is used by the Spirit of Queensland service to Brisbane. Platform 2 is used by the Kuranda Scenic Railway. So let's wrap it up. Riding the Kuranda Scenic Railway is a bit like stepping into a living and moving museum. It does feel a bit like you've stepped back into the 1920s. Not too dissimilar feeling if you've ever been to Katoomba in New South Wales, Australia. It was a great experience, but I would say best to take the train one way and then the Skyway the other. For me, revisiting this journey after so many years felt like experiencing it for the first time, and it did feel pretty good. So, whether you're a rail enthusiast or a curious traveller, or just wanting a day out if you're staying in far north Queensland, I can highly recommend a day out on the Kuranda Scenic Railway. Well, there you have it. Another Backtracks Get Sidetracked. Who knows where we'll next go on our journey around the world of public transport. See you later.